Hi guys, thank you so much for being here today. Lovely to have you with me. So I'm just going to show you a quick minute here where I have been covering the base. So often when you start acrylic painting, pour painting, when you're doing the base, it's one of the hardest things to get right. And when you get the base right, the rest of the painting often flows. Now I tend to have my base paint very slightly thinner than the paints that go on top, and the reason for that is it helps with the flow so much more. Okay, so we're starting here now today with a black and white split base. And the reason why I've chosen a split base is because it adds a little dimension and a little bit of interest. I'm not actually going to put any colours in here today, but I just want to use literally just focus purely on the pillow or base paint as it's known. Okay, so as you can see, if I'm doing a split base and I want the colours to go evenly at the top and the bottom of the canvas, doing a wave adds a bit of interest. Now the actual pouring is so therapeutic, and I make sure that I literally cover almost every gap or any area that I feel the paint won't flow, so you can really gauge by practice how much paint is on the base of the canvas. Okay, so what I've done here is mixed up Daler Rowney black paint with 50% Liquitex gloss medium, and then I have added water until the paint is of a consistency which is dripping quite quickly, and then after say 5 seconds there's the occasional drip. Now it's a really personal thing how you like your paints to flow, but within literally a few drops of water it doesn't really matter. It's about how you like your consistency. Okay, so what I use here is a set of spatulas of different thicknesses so that I can get in the corners. So at the moment I'm just spreading the paint over the corner, and I'm making sure that every part of that corner of the canvas is gently covered with the paint. Sometimes you can actually paint the whole canvas beforehand in different colour if you want to do it in one colour. We could even paint the base underneath the black in black before you put it on. It's entirely up to you. I don't find it necessary, but sometimes I like to do it. It really depends on how much depth of black that you want. But I find that the professional paints like Daler Rowney, Amsterdam, Golden, all those different paints have a really good consistency, so you don't really see the canvas through it. So I'm taking my time now, really making sure that every part of the canvas is covered. I'm going to do a video on glossing as well, because one of the important things on a finished piece is looking at the detail around, especially if you do a deep base of the canvas. And when you gloss, I tend to do 4 coats of gloss varnish, and that really makes sure that that corner edge on the 4 sides, each corner is completely sealed. So at this point it doesn't matter too much if you're moving your spatula around and it looks like certain parts are very slightly thinner, as long as there's no hole or you can't see the canvas when you're spreading the paint, it should be fine. Now then, I've got a spinner. I find as long as I have a really level spinner, it really helps to access the painting from all areas, and that's such a game changer when you're in the middle of painting, especially if you're trying to use the hairdryer or blow or manipulate the painting and you can't quite reach it, especially also if you tend to use large canvases. Okay, so I'm just finishing this off nicely now with the blower. It's a butane torch, and I'm just making sure that all the bubbles are coming out nicely. You see how easily it turns. You can really see that from all angles then how the paint is. Also, if you let it spin very gently like this for a while, it also spreads the paint out a little bit more. Acrylic pour painting is so therapeutic, and when you have it spread nice and evenly, it sets you up for a really, really good painting. Okay, so I'm now going to apply the white. I'm just being careful not to actually put any of the white inside the black, so I'm leaving, say, ½ inch between the black and the white, and I'll fill that in very gently at the end. But as you find, when you spin it round very gently, as I have just done here, it tends to move and spread a little bit, so you need a bit of a gap. So once again, I'm filling in all the little gaps, even with the white. And although the canvas is white, I'm making sure the paint evenly goes around all the sides. And I'm making sure this time too, I scrape any drips off, and I'm collecting them underneath, so at the end I can have another bit of paint, because I don't like to waste any of my paint. The butane torch is quite an important part of the process as well. It really does get those air bubbles out and ensures a nice thin base. I found a tiny bit in my paint of something earlier. I don't know how it got in there. I do tend to filter paint as well if it's been standing there a while, or if I've mixed it with the colours, because it's amazing what can get in your paint, from dog hairs to tiny bits around, in the air. So filtering paint's quite important too. Not every single time, and not when it's from a fresh bottle. But I won't go on to another fresh bottle until I've used all of my old bits up. So I'm using the spatula now on the side, really nice even edge, and it's about the thickness of the canvas. And this deep edge canvas is about 1.3 inches. So I'm just using it to smooth the paint down. Have you ever noticed, if you've done acrylic pour painting before, when the paint goes over the edge, if it's not even, it tends to leave streak marks, or even it looks like it's dripped in some areas and not in others. So this is such an important part of preparing a canvas. I think often when you see acrylic pour painting videos, it looks really easy, and the actual blow out part can take quite a short period of time. But what people don't tend to say is the amount of time and preparation needed to get the base paint right. And most of the base on a large canvas like this, which is 20 by 28 inches, it is really worth spreading the paint nicely. On a small canvas, say 7 by 7 inches, it's so much easier because the paint spreads so much easier and you've got less to cover. And I think it's really worth building yourself up to a large canvas, because a large canvas is a challenge. I did one last week actually, and it was one of the most beautiful paintings I've done, and unfortunately something had got underneath my drying area, and it was slightly uneven. Literally, I used my spirit level all the time, and I hadn't checked this time, and over a period of 2 hours it slipped off. Not completely, but it slipped off enough to ruin the composition. Thanks so much for being here, guys. Happy painting, and I hope to see you very soon.